Real Estate and Mortgage Show, your go-to spot for everything home buying, selling, and financing on News Talk 580 CFRA.
Welcome to the show, everybody. What a gorgeous November day.
It is beautiful.
I just wish there was three of us in the studio right now.
Well, I can tell you that Frank is not here right now because he's running late because of the wonderful Ottawa traffic, but he should be here in about 10 minutes. So we basically have 10 minutes of peace and freedom and probably one of the best segments you'll ever hear.
Some intelligent conversation
intelligent,
about real
which you don't
estate.
hear a lot when Frank's here. So it's, so it's going to be a great segment. Then Frank will walk in and probably the air will come out of the show and it'll just go to like an average show again, right? So that's probably what's going to happen. So,
well, in relation to the traffic, it was nice to see it looks like they've pulled down the temporary barriers going eastbound and that they've got paving equipment out. So maybe the end is in sight for the Queensway.
It is a nightmare. That Queensway is a nightmare. And like someone like you who basically drives for a living, getting to houses to shoot houses, it must be a nightmare. And I mean, I know a lot of the realtors, I mean, we're always emailing back and forth and it's just like, you know, I got to be in Canada from Orleans in like an hour, but I'm going to leave 2 hours in advance just in case, and I'll sit in the parking lot.
It's not even just in case anymore. It's any time of the day. Any time of the day, even outside of rush hour, it's well over an hour east to west. Right,
this is the first year in 2 decades I didn't get Sens tickets, mainly because of the traffic. I was like, I'm not traveling to go to a Sens game in the traffic.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Like, what do you want to spend an extra hour just to like? No.
It's an hour, and like even with no traffic, it's an hour. You know, it's like. Or no construction anyways, but all right.
Well, so the start of winter has been a little pretty good, actually. How's the market looking right now? What are we...
the market it's average. Like we're seeing bursts and like little sprints, and then all of a sudden it slows down and it dies. And you know what? It mainly came in my opinion, October was unbelievable. We had a great October. Our team did 65 deals in October, which is crazy. Last November we did 60 on the nose, and we're not going to hit that this November, and it's only because we're finding that, the show's going to turn to average. Frank just walked in the door, so it's going to go back to average. But yeah, he's going to catch his breath. He's walking upstairs, and at his age, that's hard. So, but no, so it was. I think what we're seeing in November, and it probably came out when the budget came out, and I don't know if there was, some. The budget comes out and then all of a sudden people are a little bit worried about their jobs, and it's, mainly government workers, because we saw in the budget that we could lose we will lose some jobs in the government. Yeah. And I think because of that, there's a little bit of uncertainty, and November's been average, even though the weather's been beautiful. I mean, today's a gorgeous day. Yeah. I mean, our listings are okay in November. Are you shooting a lot of homes? Or are we
I'm shooting more than I did last November, which it surprised me even. But it's been a little quieter the last couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, and I'm dealing with a lot of grumpy sellers right now too, right? They're like, what's going on? Why is my house not selling? I mean, it's a cautionary tale of the market right now, unfortunately. And it's just we're in a bit of a sort of a standstill type of market in November. Right. Now, keep in mind, November, December are usually somewhat slow anyways, right? And we're hovering very close to December now. Like we're really close to December. So, in December it's Christmas time, and it's holiday time, and it's people going on vacations. And, if you look at Facebook and Instagram, everyone seems to be on vacation right now.
Everybody but me.
Everyone's down south right now. So, people are, and this is a cheap month to travel. Like November is a cheap month to travel. So we're seeing a lot of people who are taking that advantage of that and traveling, because Frank will tell you there's not a lot of people right now with disposable income, and if you can get a cheap vacation, you might as well do it now. I mean, January is your expensive time to travel, so maybe we'll see more people in January stay home, and maybe we're going to see a more robust January. Maybe we'll have a quick start to the market come January.
So if you are listed right now with that in mind, coming into December in 10 days, what kind of advice do you have for people? Like, do they pull their house off the market? Do they leave it on? What do you do?
Some will and some won't. And I've had conversations with my team, and they're like, the seller wants to know if they should take their house off the market. And I'll look where their house is, and I'll be like, no, tell them to keep it on. And then there's others, I'm like, you know what, maybe you can take it off the market. You could take a little breather and get it back on in January. But keep in mind that everyone that's coming off the market now is going back on the market in January, plus all the new listings that are going to hit the market. So you might get an influx of listings hit the market in Jan and Feb and March and that. So if you're going to take your house off the market for December because you want to just relax over Christmas, I wouldn't delay too long in January to get it back on the market. You might be looking like a January 10th, January 15th to get it right back on the market and try beat that rush. I know last year I listed 2 of my own personal townhomes. I listed them right away. As soon as January hit, I think it was like the 10th and the 11th of January, I hit 2 of my townhomes. And because of it, I got them sold before a flood of homes hit the market. And I just did it in time.
Right.
So you might want to look into that. If you're going to take it off the market, get back on in January. Or if you're someone who's looking to list in spring starts January 15th. Like, that's our spring market. So don't delay and think spring is April, because if you wait till April, you might have 15, 12, 20, whatever comparables that you have to compete with. Where early January, you might not have those comparables. So get it on the market. And a lot of people that haven't sold during December and November might still be sitting on January, and they might look like a stale listing at that point. So you might be able to beat those people to the punch.
So if you're staying on the market, is there anything different people should be doing if they're deciding to stay on over the holidays?
Well, the one thing I would say is you have to live your life, and you have to put your Christmas decorations out and your Christmas trees and all that stuff. I just wouldn't put too many knickknacks this year. This is one year where you try to keep it as clean as possible, because, I mean, I even know with my personal house, when Christmas hits and Petra brings out the decorations, it's like Christmas threw up, and my house went from like 4,000 square feet to 2,200 square feet. You know?
4 Christmas trees
like
up?
4 Christmas trees and decorations everywhere, and it's just like, why is my house so small? And then all of a sudden she puts them all away after Christmas, and I'm like, oh, my house is actually big. So that's my advice is put as little amount of knickknacks and decorations as you can. I mean, put up your tree, and there's going to be presents around. But if you still have your house and you want to showcase it as nice as possible, it might be the one year where you want to put up as little amount of decorations as possible and knickknacks.
I always find going in around this time of year, if I'm doing photos and people have all the decorations up, get a bit of a smaller Christmas tree, if that's an option too. Because remember, people are buying space.
Well, we sell and price on square footage too, right? So, I mean, if you all of a sudden, I always tell people too, if you can declutter your house as much as possible and make it show even bigger than what it actually is, you might be able to cheat a little bit on price. Well, Christmas time is the exact opposite, like the story I just told you.
You're filling it with more stuff.
You're filling it with more stuff, and the more stuff you have, the smaller that house looks. So don't fill it with stuff this year, because if you want to get your home sold and you want to cheat on price, you have to show it as big as possible.
Right. Frank, welcome to the show.
Did you catch your breath yet?
Good morning. I've been listening for the last 7 minutes I've been in the studio. I've even gotten text saying, please tell me you're in the studio. I'm tired of listening to Paul. By the way, that was Petra that sent that. But
I'm sure it was. Thanks, Petra.
Little traffic chaos.
You went through it. You got there.
I left extra early because I
he was responsible, Frank. He left early.
Well, you don't. Again, I thought I read signs on the Queensway all week that said that by Thursday would be done. Clearly not.
Well, Frank takes a little longer to get in, because if you've ever seen the flag that sticks outside of his car that says, I'm a Hall of Famer, as he's going down.
I
so, he's not as aerodynamic as you are, Greg.
I don't think so. Actually, I'm glad I got on the Kitchissippi or whatever it's called, the Parkway, because that was clear sailing, but getting there was the hard part. So for anybody coming from the West End, coming across the city, I mean, there's a big sign that says they're shutting it down to 1 lane at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh, it's going to be a nightmare.
Which is incredible. Why not do this work at nighttime? Why do it during the day when people are actually out? Why not
I don't know if you heard,
Frank,
in the first segment, I said I didn't get Sens tickets this year because I just don't want to deal with that traffic.
Right.
Like, it's just, I couldn't imagine having to come from Orleans to Canada to watch a game in that traffic right now. It's just a nightmare.
No, now, again, it's supposed to be fixed come this weekend, maybe. We'll see. The lanes reopen, but we'll see. But either way, I mean, it's been, you were saying it's slow. For us, it's been pretty steady. And again, for us, we have concerned citizens, concerned mortgage holders that are coming off of 149, 159. Now every single renewal that we're calling, and we're calling them as early as 6 months in advance and saying, we just want to get a head start on this. And not that we want you to do anything, because we do not. And I repeat, I do not want you to break your mortgage 6 months early like the banks are probably encouraging you to do, to early renew now, because that makes
especially if you're sitting
no
on 149, 159.
Correct. But banks are pretty good at, putting words together that make people think about. And again, too many Canadians trust what their bank says. So Don't trust everything. Get that second, third opinion if you have to, because I don't think there's any scenario where interest rates are going up right now. I don't see where our economy is blossoming. I don't see where unemployment is likely going to go down. I know we've seen a couple of last month it came down 0.2 of a point, but 88,000 part-time jobs were gained and 16 full-time jobs were lost. That should tell you something. Either the part-time jobs are to help over Christmas season, or people are taking part-time jobs because their full-time job's not enough.
Making ends meet.
Could be.
Like that. That's scary. To me, that's a scary thought, because I've talked to so many two-income families who generally were pre-COVID, were able to make ends meet, put food on the table, put some good food on the table sometimes, and splurge, go to dinner, save some money for vacation, RSPs, and now that's gone by the wayside. A lot of them are saying we barely have enough to do anything else. And that's while their interest rate's at 1.4959. What's going to happen now when they have to renew in the spring, summer of next year, and the rates are 3.79, 3.89?
I got two things. One, I read an article this week that's saying even now renters are needing dual income.
That was an interesting article you sent to the team.
It's scary though, right? Like, I mean, you used to be able to rent and afford it by yourself, and now it's like you need a double income to afford rent nowadays. But we have to go to break. But Frank, on the other side of the break, talked to a couple people this week who are in your industry, and they were really, really concerned what's going to happen in 2027. And their thought was, and maybe you can answer this after the break.
27, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Their thought was that people are going to be so upside down on their mortgage that it's not that they're going to sell to downsize. They won't even be able to sell because they're so upside down. And I just want to get your thoughts on that afterwards.
All right. Have a question? Head over to realestateandmortgageshow.com or give us a call, 521-TALK, 521-8255. We will be right back. Welcome back to the show. So, Paul, just before the break, you were asking Frank, you talked to a couple people this week saying they're a little nervous about what's going to happen in 2027.
Yeah, they believe it's, and I said, as we were talking a little bit in the break, and I'll let Frank answer this, but they're concerned that on the real estate side in 2027, it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath. And Frank, like, what are your thoughts on that? Because people are going to come up for renewal, and their house might not be worth what they paid for it.
Again, this is another reason that we get in front of as many clients as possible with our renewals. And we ask as many clients as possible who have mortgages coming up with their banks to call us 6 months, 8 months, 9 months in advance, and let's talk about what strategies we have as we get closer to renewal. Because if you wait till close to renewal, well, then all of a sudden your options become limited if you're too close. But, I think in 26, I think people should feel safe, because I think if you bought anytime the end of 25 or 2021, the end of 2020 and heading into 2021, I think 21 was probably the year where there was the biggest increase, right, in real estate prices. Was 21?
Started 2022, but we did go up a good chunk.
2022, the second half.
Second half was flat, but April up till April in 2022 was insane. Yeah.
Right. So 2021 was probably the one calendar year where it probably had the most increase. So I think anybody that bought in 2021, probably is in good shape when it comes to the equity that they built up in their house. So they've got something to fall back on, which is fantastic. The ones that bought towards the end of 2021, and that's who you're referring to, I think anyone that bought at the end of 21 and into 22, and I know that during the years 22, 23, and into early 24, anybody that bought from a builder, some people were walking away from their deposits because the house was worth $100,000, $150,000 less than what they paid for it because they bought during the peak.
Well, in 2020, it went up 19%.
Right.
In 2021, it went up 22%.
Right.
And then it went up to 2022, went up 7%. So we saw early price appreciation in 2022, and then
probably 20%, and then we lost 10 or 13% in that second half.
People are coming off, 2020 and 2021, our market went up so fast and so hard. We've never seen anything like that. Like, you do go up 5%, that's a good year.
Yeah.
19% and 22%.
Crazy.
Like, there's some people who made a lot of money in real estate those years, a lot of money.
Yep.
But then there's going to be some people now that are going to be a little bit of trouble. I was telling the story to Petra. I was like, God, I'm kind of worried about what's going to happen in 2027 when mortgages come up. The people who bought at the start of 2022. And she's looking at me, staring at me. I'm like, what? What's wrong? She's like, when did we buy our house, Paul?
Yeah,
like,
beginning of 2022.
Oh, yeah, beginning of 2022.
But you're not selling. You're not selling.
No,
right?
Well, we can't sell. I wouldn't,
You can't.
For what I paid for it, And what I've even put into that house, if I sold, now I was lucky. We brought in a whack of equity, so I don't owe anything on the house. But if I'm someone who only put 5% down, I'd be a little nervous. I'd be a little bit nervous.
And maybe that's a question. Where do you have to, if you bought in 2022, where do you have to be if you're going to need to get out? Like 5% down, you're going to
get renewed. So number one, so anybody that bought with, so when you buy with less than 20% down, you get commonly known CMHC, but it's not only CMHC, it's Sage and Canada Guarantee. So there's 3 default insurance companies. Once you buy and you've got that default insurance, not only is the lender covered, but you're covered as well. So in other words, as long as you don't default on the mortgage. So what a lot of people are worried about that in 2027, when the mortgage comes up for renewal, they're going to have to stick with their bank because they're not going to be able to shop it elsewhere because maybe the property value has gone down. Well, that's false. Once you have default insurance, that means that the lender is protected across the board as long as you don't borrow more money on it. So you're going to be able to switch your mortgage from one lender to another in 27, regardless of the fact that maybe your property values come down a little bit and you don't have the equity built in, but it doesn't prevent you from shopping from one lender to another and trying to get your very best deal. So that's the one thing that's come up to me, and I've said you have nothing to worry about as a consumer. But the ones that are coming up, and let's talk about the ones that are coming up in 21. So, when it comes to real estate market, what I see happening is people are going to make a determination based on the fact that they're going from 159 to 389, let's say. Now, the payment's not going to go up 2.5 times like the interest rate will, but that payment may go up $400, $500, $600. And I think people are going to have to make some really tough decisions because if they were barely making ends meet at the low interest rate, then the question is, what can we do? Couple of things that are available. Number one, I mean, the easiest thing is if your property's gone up in value, which I hope it has. If you bought in early 2021, you've probably got some equity. Even if you bought with 5% down, you likely will have enough equity to be able to refinance the property, maybe add a little bit of the debt, maybe not all of it, but some of the debt in there to get to 80%. So you can refinance to 80% of the value of the home and re-amortize it to 30 years so that your payment remains fairly standard to where you're at right now. Yeah. Keep it, but now maybe you don't have some of the other debt payments, which allows you to move forward. That's one option. The second option is if you're really struggling to make ends meet already, you're already maxed out and you don't have the equity built in, your property maybe hasn't appreciated as quickly, then all of a sudden you got a tough decision to make because some people have said, well, then I'll just file for bankruptcy and I'll get to keep my home. And that's true. And I think you need to talk to a trustee to figure out what the options are. If
you should really talk to a lawyer about that.
A lawyer and or a trustee.
Bankruptcy trustee.
Yeah, bankruptcy trustee. But maybe the decision is to sell the house. And that's where I think real estate agents might be busy in 2026. I had meetings with an MP from Ontario this week, and, we're still making our request. We need the land transfer tax. It's great what the federal government and the provincial government have done when it comes to new builders, HST rebates, or the PST and the GST rebate. I think that's fantastic. And she asked me, she said, you think that'll get, haven't we done enough? It's like, no.
Not even close.
Not even close, because we still have municipalities that have raised their developmental charge. And she goes, well, that's the municipalities. Are you having meetings with the municipalities? I said, well, no, because we expect the provincial government and the federal government to come down hard on the municipalities because they're not listening to anybody because they've got their own budgets that they're worried about. But, while that continues to happen, if builders are having to give away $30,000, $40,000 in HST, but the development fees are going up $30,000, $40,000, well, now that's not doing anything to the price of a new home. And that's what Canadians are telling you they're struggling with. That's what the first-time home buyers are telling you they're having a hard time with is the fact that, wait a second, I thought the $500,000 house was going to go down maybe to $450,000, $460,000. Well, no, it's staying at $500,000. Well, where's that money going? I thought we were getting these rebates. So,
or maybe to Paul's point, maybe even going up a little bit because those development charges are paid up front by the builder, right?
Up front. So
a shovel hasn't even gone in the ground.
Like we talked about Rockland right now. Like Rockland's doubling their development charges. Like that's crippling. So,
I don't understand this. I really don't understand these municipalities who have this land that's generating no tax revenue whatsoever, zero revenue.
Right.
You've got builders that are coming into these municipalities and building them, which is going to generate tax revenue, which is going to help the economy create jobs. And instead, it's almost like they want not to develop that land because they make it so difficult to develop the land that first-time home buyers aren't coming out of the woodwork.
If I'm a builder in that community, I'm leaving that community. I'm looking for a new community to start building homes. And in that community, there's some big builders.
I'd like to see that,
but you're not absorbing. If I would too. I mean, if who's going to absorb that development charge? The buyer, the end user. The buyer has to absorb that. So if you go from $25,000 a permit to $50,000, that house has now gone up $25,000. Like the builder's not absorbing that.
Plus the carrying cost of them fronting that $25,000 or $50,000 per door
for a year and a half by the time they get a shovel in the ground. Exactly. I'd love to see municipalities start competing against each other and saying, you know what? Oh, Rockland, you want to do that? The municipality next, and I don't know much about the East End. I'm a West End guy, but whatever's next to Rockland, that municipality should say, hey, we're keeping ours at $25,000. Why don't you come build in my municipality?
Yeah, look, we've got all this.
Well,
beautiful
you know what it's forcing the builders to do is, like Charles right now is just loading up on permits and to save the development charges.
Again, pre-buying them.
Pre-buying them, but what does that do? That hurts his pocketbook now because he's having to come up with all this money, and good luck getting financing on development charges. Like he's literally forking this out of his own genes, right? And that's where it becomes crippling, and that's where it's going to hurt the municipality. It's going to hurt first-time home buyers because they're building a very affordable product that home buyers can't afford. Well, now the municipality is coming in and jacking up their development charges for no reason, and all of a sudden now that's not affordable. Like we have to jack those townhomes up $25,000-$30,000. They become not affordable anymore, and you could probably go to Orleans for just as cheap now. So,
have a question? Head over to realestateandmortgageshow.com or give us a call 521-TALK 521-8255. We will be right back.